Hi guys, Ken's IT in our lab today. I was thinking about the video on Toshiba. It's going to take it apart um, and do some measurements on it and do some desoldering of some chips, micro soldering, put them back on, put the motherboard or the computer back together, and make sure it's still working, and keep doing that for some practice. Um, But before that, I was thinking about the tools, talking about the tools that I'll be using, and give you an idea of what we're going to be working with and how they work and why we're using them, so on. So I'll just go over today, just quickly, an overview of the tools that I use. It's not a paid advertisement at all. I'm not endorsed by anybody. I'm not endorsing anybody. Well, I might endorse them because they're good products. I mean, but I'm not paid for this advertisement at all. So I'll give you an idea of what tools I use, and we'll go from there. So let's switch over to this is the screwdriver set that I use. Comes with everything that you would really need to take a computer apart, cell phone apart, tablet apart. Um, it's an electric screwdriver plus it has a manual screwdriver. Um, Basically all the tools that you'll need. For any repairs that you may need. Um, so that's it. Yeah. So what's next? Next, this is the DC power supply that I use. Um, it can it's basically good for connecting to a machine, and it shows how many volts that it's going to use and how many amps that are actually being used at the moment. So say you plug in a dead laptop and it says 19 volts and it's using like 500 milliamps. Like it could be part of the charging current, but it could be also a short on the board that's pulling current. So it just helps you troubleshoot. So on mine, these two sections right here, the red and the black, those caps you can screw off, and you can use this thing here and push those the red and black probes into these holes, or and you can unscrew those and you can attach wires straight to those. And what I did is, let me switch cameras here. What I did on mine is I attached three wires to mine. Two of them I got off of an old power supply. Oops, getting tangled up here. But two of them I got off an old power supply, and um, sorry. Um, so these two are made for injecting voltage onto a motherboard without the power supply, um, without the battery plugged in, a normal power supply plugged in, um, or the battery plugged in, and that way you can inject voltage into the board. You obviously limit how many volts and how many amps that go in at one time, but you limit it, and it'll heat the part up. That's you can see what part is heating up underneath the thermal camera, so it gives you a better chance of finding the shorts. Easier chance to find shorts. The second one plugs straight into the unit, and it has these adapters here. And it has these adapters, so you can plug them in and out. I'll show you the tool that you get these adapters with. Um, but that way you can get the right adapter for each laptop, whatever, tablet, phone, whatever, and you can plug them into these. And I don't have any for phones right now. I don't think. We'll see. But if I don't have one, I can make one. I made this one. Just two alligator clips, two wires, and this adapter. Um, plugs into LEDs. So this way you can troubleshoot the laptop. You can plug this straight into a laptop or what device and see how many amps it's pulling in the current that's currently going through it. Um, and it helps you troubleshoot that way also. So that's part of the power supply system that I have. Switch back over to computer here. So that's the power supply. These are some of the adapters that I got. This is a power supply. It can go from 3 to 24 volts at a maximum of 3 amps. You really can't adjust the amps on this, but you can adjust the voltage. So this is just good for if you want to supply power to whatever device, you get a device in, it doesn't have a power supply, you can use this to provide power. Like I said, these are some of the adapters that I use, which are awesome. So next one. These are the other ones. So this is for the newer power supplies. It has a USB-C connector on it. I don't really use that cable, but I do use these adapters. Um, all these Lenovo and Dell and whatever, all the different adapters. So um, that's the other one. Sorry, I feel like I'm going quick. No, I need that page. All right, so this is your solder-free solder paste. Um, when you're working with really small chips, you can put the solder paste on here and just use a heat gun and it puts the solder where you want it, and the flux melts away. Works really good, um, and it melts at a very low temperature, so that way you're not heating up the board and um, potentially melting strips or connectors or anything like that. So, all right. Next, this is low melt solder. Um, it's good for removing. Like I said, you don't want to put too much heat in the motherboard in the solder. It takes, say, the 5 or more layer boards. It takes a lot of heat to get the solder off, to desolder something. So if you add some of this low melt solder on there, um, it helps removing those parts a lot easier with the flux. So, and this is heat vinyl press tape, heat resistant tape that you put on the motherboard to cover plastic fittings or whatever you want to reduce the heat that you're putting into the board, and you want to protect it. This is the tape you would use for that. This is the board I had, the mat I have right in front of me. Let's make sure in a second. Right here in front of me. It's good for putting the motherboard or anything on it that may have electrical connections on front and back. You can put it on this board and do your testing and stuff, and that way you're not worried about the backside shorting out or anything. Um, so it's a really good product to have. So I do like that. And these are static straps that you can use. Um, I have to get used better at using these straps, but I do have it in my lab, which is hanging right here. And I'm ready to use it. It's right here. I just have to start using it more often. So we will do that. These are the tweezers that I have. Um, I have metal tweezers and plastic tweezers. Depends on what you're using them on. Mainly soldering, I use the metal ones, so they're not melting away, and I can reuse them. They work good. So those are the tweezers I have. This is thermal paste. So you take out a part of the motherboard and you have to put thermal paste back on. This is the one I use. And soldering wick. take solder off on the boards. This is the wick that I use. Definitely works good. This soldering smoke absorber doesn't really absorb smoke. I mean, it takes it out of your work area, but on the backside of the fan, it's still blowing the residual smoke in the room. So it's really not taking it out of the room at all. I mean, it takes the appearance of smoke out of the room, but the smell is still there. So if you really need one, you can get this one, but I want to suggest it. So in my lab here, I went and got at Home Depot. I went and picked up an exhaust fan type thing, 4-inch exhaust fan, and I'll show you in a second here. So this exhaust fan's right here, goes through the wall. The fan's actually in the wall, and there's like a dryer vent on the outside, so the flap closes when the fan's not on. But this sucks a lot more air, and with the mini split in the room and this fan, I don't need to open the door. I don't need to crack the windows while I'm soldering. The only time I do have to do that is when I'm using one of the tools, and I'll show you which one after. It's a solder sucker, which still puts the exhaust in your room. So I'll show you that tool when we get to it here. This is a circuit board holder. When I need something this size, I definitely use this one. And, haven't really had to use it yet, but it's made for bigger content. So and solder mask. So say you want to cover something on the motherboard. You soldered something and you want to protect that spot that you soldered. You can put this mask on and use a UV light and harden it, and it just protects all your connections, whatever you've done on the motherboard. So you had to say you had to fix a trace or whatever. You can reconnect that trace, and then you can cover back up this mask to protect it. So eventually we will be using that. This is a circuit board holder. I've found that this one is really good for like cell phone motherboards. It's really small in size. It's adjustable, and it worked really well. And when I worked on like a motherboard of a cell phone. And this is flux flux paste. When you're soldering, working on a board, this is mainly what we're going to use to desolder chips on a board. Um, Solder is your friend, so definitely have plenty of this. This is the thermal imaging camera that I have. I have it hooked up to my onto my computer, and then I can show on OBS Studio for recording. So when you're injecting voltage in a motherboard, very low voltage and very low amps, the board somewhere is going to heat up. So you might not feel it, but you can see it with this camera. So we'll be using that during this process. And this is the solder sucker that actually in these vents right here, the smoke comes right out these vents as it's sucking. So you definitely want to put it next to the exhaust fan, open the door, crack the window, whatever, because you are going to get some exhaust in the room while you're using this. No way around that. The fire alarm might even go off because it doesn't suck it out of the room at all. So, all right, but it works good. Definitely works good. This is my ACMI switcher. My computer, the microscope, the VGA connection on older computers or whatever. I can connect into here and display it. All right. And this is the microscope that I use. It's very good because it has the recording camera up top here. This one. and it hooks into HDMI, so I can hook it right to my monitor, which I'll show you in a second here. This monitor right here, I can um, I can look at that monitor instead of these two little peepholes here, um, and do my work. And that way, I'm not my head isn't over the soldering. I'm back away from it, like arm's distance away from it while I'm soldering, and I can look at that monitor and see everything small, so I don't have to get up and right up over it, bend over. I don't have to do any of that, so that works really well. All right, so those are most of the tools that I use in here. I'm sure there's more tools that we'll get to as we get to, but those are the main tools that we'll be using during this process of fixing motherboards, fixing any type of circuit board, I guess, as we go. So hope you liked the video. Like I said, none of these tools are sponsored by anybody. I paid for them all and used them all. They all work good. Besides that fan. The fan needed some work, but other than that, it was very good. So if you like the video, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. Come back for the next one. Um, hope you learned something new today. I like learning something new every day. So come back for the next one.